This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
It's the Dirty Laundry Game-Worn Hockey Podcast.
We're old school, right? We wash our own dirty laundry.
The name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back.
I refuse to be judged by a grown man wearing a hockey jersey.
Game on! Game on!
We are back with another episode of the Dirty Laundry Game-Worn Hockey Podcast, episode number 89. Got the most of the boys back. Justin tied up into some other things, but last time I talked to Paul, it was in person. Last time I talked to Wade, other than through over the phone and stuff, of course, was in person. We all got to hang out, hold microphones in our hands, and be in the same room. The expo was a blast. The weekend was so much fun. But more and more things happening. How we doing, gentlemen?
Always good.
Doing great. Glad we're people don't know this probably, but we're recording on a Friday night instead of a Thursday.
Yeah, so we did fool all of you, and I forgot to put a thing out, and I hope we didn't upset anybody going, where is it? It will be, of course, you're listening to it, but you realize you're seeing it now on a Saturday. So, yes, just with scheduling of Wade being at the awesome Blues game last night, Paul having some things going on. I didn't want to ramble by myself because it's just never as good to do it alone. So we decided to push it a day. So here we are. The drink of this evening is.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. What's up?
Just the doing it alone thing. You know, it's never good you do it by yourself.
You can't beat it. Or perhaps you can. The drink of this evening, in my old fashioned, the bourbon of this evening, is Planters Ozark Highlands Whiskey. It is a made in the Ozark area of Missouri. It is a very good add to my old fashioned mix. So Wade with his Dr. Pepper and whatever Paul has in his steel mystery, his Barracuda cup there.
Barracuda cup, yes.
So Doc, real quick, how was Eddie Belfour?
That was cool. It was really enjoyable experience. Real quick story on that. We got down to, of course, I plugged it a little bit for too, is Mike McKenna is the owner of Macadoodles in Darden Prairie. We got down there at 5:30. The meet and greet, and you, for every bottle you bought, you could get your bottle signed plus one item, which was nice. We got down there at 5:30, and we were probably about 40th or so in line. Wow. And the line built up very quickly behind us. I checked in with Mike a little bit before. He was super pumped. He had got to have dinner with Belfour before and was just telling stories and that. And, of course, they connected because they both spent time in Dallas at different times. But they opened the doors. People lined up. Ed was set up in the back of the building. You went past their tasting counter, and they had Belfour there if you wanted to try any of the three that they were selling, because some of the people had never had it before. So, it was interesting to look around and see the number of people in St. Louis area with Blackhawks jerseys on or Belfour jerseys on, things like that. It was just crazy to see in there. Roberto Rossi, one of our friends who's also a collector, him and his wife and kids came over. He had never tried it, so he tried the bourbon, bought several bottles. I picked up one of the rye, which is the only one I have not had yet. Picked up a bottle of that, waited 25 or so minutes in line in the store, but it was good camaraderie. At one point, everybody that's inside the store is chanting Belfour, like how the Blues fans used to taunt him.
Like they did Connor last night.
But yes, so he did get a big kick out of that. But once we got up there, I was wearing, of course, one of my obnoxious shirts. The one I had at the time was mixed drinks and stuff, and Belfour immediately saw that, loved the shirt, and had a nice few minutes to talk to him. He signed the bottle and then did a picture and had Mike sign the bottle as well, and then headed home. But it was a fantastic turnout. They actually ran out of bottles at 7:30. Talking to Mike, I checked in with Mike McKenna the next day. they bought everything they were able to order at the time from Belfour, the distributor. And so they were letting people who didn't get bottles initially could order them, get them. They'll get. Belfour said he would sign them and said this was the biggest one he'd ever done. So it was awesome to see in St. Louis that turnout for really the enemy at the time. But a lot of people now really respect him and like say he was as nice as could be. Very, very, very cool experience there. And speaking of drinking, we can't forget our sponsor Mitch with the Drink Your Face Off line of barware and clothing. So reach out to Mitch. I know he's busy tonight getting ready for the sale he's putting on, little sale he's putting on there in San Jose tomorrow. So Paul, good luck to you and Mitch with that.
Yeah, it'll be in San Carlos tomorrow.
Okay.
Which is
I don't know California. That could be 2 minutes or 6 hours away.
Depends on traffic. You are correct, but it's about halfway between San Jose and San Francisco.
Okay,
so a little bit north of Palo Alto.
Very nice.
Yeah, which doesn't help anyone. But
I also do want to thank Devin and Megan. If you have not seen it pop up in your feed somewhere, and I will put a link in our show's description of that. I was actually a guest on their new podcast. They launched a new podcast last week called Hockey Style with Devin and Megan. Episode 2 just came out the other day. They have Stacy on that episode is Stacy Natini, who started on Facebook, the Ladies of the NHL Facebook page. I have not had a chance to listen to that episode yet, but I will actually be on next week with them. I did the interview the other day, and when we talked, it'll be about a half hour or so. We did an hour. So a great time. Their podcast is very, very, very neat. How they're doing it. They're doing it set up like 3 periods and covering different pieces of hockey style and trying to teach people who didn't know about the hobby or card collecting, all kinds of stuff. What they're doing is awesome. And as I told them on their podcast, it is so cool to just be an ever-growing family of knowing each other and then seeing people launch podcasts, because again, this isn't a competition. It's just adding other really fun pieces to it. So I am excited to see. You guys will have to let me know after it comes out what you think of our discussion and stuff. But I did talk about the hobby for people who don't know what it is or understand it and that. So that was a lot of fun. Now getting into some auctions. Ending April 30th on NHL auctions, you have the Battle of Alberta Oilers jerseys. They do also have a handful of equipment out there, some gloves, some goalie gloves, a few sticks. Migray has wild equipment, being helmets, gloves, sticks, skates maybe. Those end on May the 8th. They also have the FDNY Hockey Heroes charity auction that ends May the 13th. Some really nice looking jerseys and stuff in there. 24-25 Predators team issue hoodie auction ends on May the 15th. I know that's not jerseys, but a lot of myself included people do collect player hoodies, because that's a little bit cheaper way sometimes to get something a player has worn or done. I actually bought one from the Blues in their last sale, and then happened to check Getty looking at something else, and I found pictures of the player I got warming up with a soccer ball before wearing that exact hoodie, which I thought was kind of cool. Other auctions, Heritage has their auctions close on 22 days. They have a good mix of stuff in there. They have a 83-84 Bork, a 1984 Grant Fuhrer Canada Cup jersey, Dennis Potvin in there, 86-87 Yzerman, Guy Carbonneau, Mike Bossy, Rick Nash. There is the 2021 Goal 708. It is currently at 7,500 with 22 days to go. I'm surprised those aren't jumping more. Connor McDavid socks, they are currently at $500 and $750. What else have you got? Brian Trottier, Islanders jersey, Dennis Savard. Even Wade, for you, there's a 93-94 Peter Stastny.
Oh, nice.
Blues jersey. Again, with 23 days to go. So one more on there. There's some other sticks and different things. Even a more current Tyler Sagan and a WHA Michigan Stags jersey that's out there as well. So a good mix of things that end in a couple things end in a handful of days. Even a 1956 Gene Campbell USA International jersey. It is it's actually a buy it now price of $19,000. So anybody's got that money laying around, there you go. A couple other things that I want to say discovered, but I stumbled across because of being in, and it helps for us as the podcast and others being in a lot of the team groups, is I saw somebody shared, I think it was about 2 weeks ago now, the link that Utah is using GiveSmart for their stuff. And they did a jerseys off their back night auction, and wow, the cheapest, see if I can filter that down that way. It looks, of course, there's no way to do that. It looks like the cheapest sold for around $1,650. And they went as high as over 7,000 for the home. Let's look at Coolies here really quick. I should have had this up. This is it's worn during multiple games during the final, including the final home game of the inaugural season versus Nashville. And it was one of his, and it doesn't even say how many games, but gives a little bit of details. Last game worn on April 10th, 2025 against the Predators. It says jerseys off their backs, but it doesn't indicate that like you went down to the ice. Like we'll get Wade's story here in a minute. But like a Sergachev away sold for $5,000, but it just says worn for multiple away games or multiple home games. So there's no, and I don't know if they're giving, and if anybody at the Utah Collectors got any of these, reach out and let us know if there was any kind of date tracking or what. But in the whites, it looked like the cheapest was $13, and in the homes was $16.50. Which for a one season design, I get it. But yeah, GiveSmart, they actually have, I've been getting their text auctions because I signed up for them, and ironically enough, it's the exact same text number as the Blues auction. So I have to look at each one of those to see which team it is sometimes when they send it out. But let me see what they have out there now. They actually have, and it just closed a bit ago, it was a whole bunch of jerseys, pucks, and stuff from both Utah and other teams around the league. It sold for $12,765. None of those jerseys were game worn, however. They've a Logan Cooley, just a signed jersey, not even game worn, sold for $3,000. Clayton Keller sold for $25,000. Team signed jersey, $5,800. So they have a mix of things out here. So that's what, if you're on GiveSmart, look up Utah, you'll be able to at least get the details on that. But I thought those was interesting to see. And I don't know if those are going to be the only set they sell. We know very little. I'm going to reach out to whoever ran the auction and see if I can get some details from them. Today also, this already closed, but it's interesting to see some prices. The Canadians had a game used. And this is a site, Paul, you sent us the link I wasn't familiar with, signaturepro.bid.
It's in both French and English.
Yes. Do we know, is this just something that's, I'm assuming maybe hosted out of Canada, most likely, but I don't know that I've ever seen that particular auction house or software before. Have you?
Yeah. The Canadians have been putting it up there for a couple of years, I think.
Okay.
And some of the junior teams in Quebec are also using it.
Okay.
So that's why I got a couple of Biaka Batuka jerseys.
There you go.
What is this?
and they do list by last bidder. I'm looking at just some of the ones here they show. So either whatever name the people listed, some of them are real names, some of them are not, and you can see if people bought multiple. Pricing was kind of all over the map depending on who. Cole Caulfield $2,850, Nick Suzuki $2,760, and it kind of goes down from there depending on if you. Some of the players were $500 to $600. So
And you might be looking at Canadian dollars.
that's highly possible.
Yeah, I'm
However,
not
it
sure if
loaded.
Yeah.
I
don't have it open right now. I don't know if it loads in US dollars or Canadian.
Unclear. It tells me highest bid says 2850. But yeah, I don't know if it's reading that I'm in the US or not. So they also do extended bidding with theirs. So if you do not normally bid for the Canadians and you're looking at these things in the future, please be aware of that. This is not an auction, but just Boston updated their store. There's a bunch of team issued Centennial jerseys that are $600, a decent amount of them. And as we talked about, if you buy an authentic Pro Fanatics and get it lettered, you're going to spend about $600 or $650. So if these are one of the people you want, that's a fair trade-off. At least you'll get a set stamp and stuff in there also. So that's those kind of things. That's just a lot of different things to cover, but definitely wanted to mention Utah in there because there were some questions on where these were going to be sold. Like I said, I'll reach out to the contact that's in that auction and say, hey, what is this going to just be where all of them are, or will you guys be doing some other things?
If you still have the Habs auction in front of you, what did the Lane Hudson jersey go for?
I'm
assuming
went for, let's see.
I'm assuming that was probably the most expensive one there. And of course, you can't sort by price. So
right. Lane Hudson, $10,110.
Not surprised at all.
No.
No, it's Canadian, so it's 3,500 American.
And that was for the away. I'm looking to see. I do not see his, because it's not a full roster here. So it was only his away. His home was not in the auction.
Wow.
So, and again, who knows why? Looking at a lot of these, it seems to be random. You can sort by forward, defensemen, or goalies, which is kind of nice. But yeah, it's kind of sporadic what they had. Speaking of sales, week from tomorrow, you'll be at one.
I assume you're talking to me. That will be the San Jose Sharks and Barracuda.
That's the only NHL sale I'm currently aware of any team.
Well, the Ducks are having one soon too. We'll talk about the Sharks first.
Wait, they still have a team?
Ouch.
Ooh.
Shark sale is May 3rd, Saturday. Early access gets in at 10 a.m. Everyone else at noon, goes till 4 p.m. And it's a Sharks and Barracuda sale. One thing I find very interesting is the Barracuda are still playing. Last night they won game 1 against Ontario, and in the Pacific, the first round's best of 3. So if they win one of their next 2 games, which is a possibility, they will still be playing during their equipment sale. So it'll be interesting to see how much Barracuda stuff really comes up for that part of the sale.
They should time it so if they lose, they have to immediately bring all their gear to the sale and sell it.
Dirty.
Yes, yeah. Well, it can be just like Fanatic ship stuff. So it's
right.
But there's looking forward to the sale. It'd be great to see everyone. And it's only 6 hours this year, but I know we'll be there super early, and we'll probably stay at the poorhouse late afterwards. One change they've made this year, and it's not clear exactly what's going to happen. Hopefully I can talk about this in 2 weeks after the sale. They're limiting it either to 1 jersey per time in line or 1 jersey per person. There's a little bit of confusion about what's really going on. There's been complaints in past years that certain people who we all know them. We're all part of it. Were grabbing multiple jerseys and checking out with multiple jerseys, and some people, I think it was 2 years especially, a lot of stuff sold out early.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, people were not happy. So they're trying to find a way to spread the wealth on the game worn jerseys.
Yeah.
There more. And I think there's, in addition to that, they've been selling a lot of jerseys during the year at the equipment stand. So I don't know how many jerseys will really be there. To complicate things, home set 3, at least some of those jerseys were given away at Jersey Off Their Back. So we know that Henry Thrun was a gamer and tag set 3. I haven't heard from others on how other jerseys from that were tagged. But we know at least one was set 3 and not just a one game wonder or not even worn, as we've heard in some years.
And do you think that it's that across the board? Because it would make the most sense. Why would you make some one-offs for one people and others it's the set 3s?
Or I never know what to expect from the Sharks. So I think you're probably right. It would make sense that it's all set 3. But once you think you've figured out a pattern or consistency, there's always an exception.
Sure.
So it's we don't know for sure, but I found that interesting. So I don't know how many Sharks jerseys will come up. If the Cuda are still playing, there's a chance there'll be only players who have left the team there, if even that. And gear, we're playing hockey, you still need the gear. So it's be interesting to see what shows up there. One thing I should mention, my understanding is the Sharks are redoing their locker room this offseason. So it's possible a lot of older stuff that they have hidden in there might show up. I think it was last year we found a pair of skates that were 25 years old.
Wow.
Who knows what might come up this year in regards to older stuff. I doubt there will be many old jerseys, because why would those be in the locker room? But old gear and stuff, who knows what they might be stashing back there.
Are you gonna buy a locker stall?
No. I don't have room for it. I barely have room for the crap we have already. Okay, no, I don't have room for the crap we have already. So it's unless I can use it for storage. What happens?
Well, see, you right where you're sitting now, as you put it behind you, you can sit in the locker stall when you do the show.
Or I could just do a virtual background of the same thing.
Well, yes, but
that
not
requires
as authentic,
effort.
Paul.
I know. Yeah. Or like the Zamboni, I can store it at Mitch's.
Yes, you could visit it when you like.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see your photos and stuff, and it is awesome that and hopefully they continue. The Sharks give you the access to that, and like I say, if you're close to whatever teams you are anywhere, reach out and ask the same. Wade and I will ask the Blues again this year whenever their sale is announced, and I was mentioning that to Tyler a little bit during the expo, trying to sweet talk him, and it's good coverage. It's good. Honestly, I think it's a good historical documentation for the hobby too, to be able to look back over years.
Someone was asking me about it the other day, so I looked back, and I've been doing this for 15 years now, photographing the sale. And it's fun looking back at some of the older sales and just the stuff which showed up there, which we really wish it was in our collection now. I will say I missed one sale in 2 years. 1 year was canceled due to COVID, so no sale. The other one, I was having an issue with some people in the front office, and so I was boycotting buying everything. That was the year Flavel was there, and I don't care who I say that to. It's he. Let me put it this way: if he was still there, a lot of us would not be going to Sharks games. It just sucked a lot of the fun out of it, and it's a shame that things like that happen. But so it was really cool looking back at that, and it also made me realize I have a lot of expos I need to upload the photos from. So hopefully get to that soon. Besides the Sharks, the only other equipment sale I know is the Anaheim Ducks on June 10th. So
it's amazing they're both doing them so quickly at the end of the season to me. That's interesting that they're able to move stuff so fast.
Part of it may be just because the equipment guys and others want to get the hell out, want to get it
Yeah.
up and done and get out for the summer and enjoy a break before they have to start coming back for training camps and everything else.
Yeah, definitely probably part of it, but it's just interesting that they're able to put everything together and know what they want to get rid of and not want to, that quickly. To me is just interesting. But
I agree. In the old days, the logic worked with the equipment managers wanting to leave town for the Sharks because it was run by the equipment staff and the Sharks Foundation.
Yeah.
So a lot of I don't know the exact percentage, but proceeds from the equipment sale went to the Sharks Foundation, which is an incredible organization to do a lot of great stuff. Now Amaroq has the complete contract. So everything sold at the equipment sale is for profit. And that I'm a little bit shocked it's this soon after it because they can do it whenever
they want.
Whenever SAP is available. Now, they've already said they'll do additional sidewalk sales later on in the summer for stuff that doesn't sell. And who knows if they'll do a separate Barracuda sale again this year, which they did last year and didn't have Barracuda stuff or very limited. It was mostly shark stuff, which was strange. But, it was just a different venue. But yeah, I mean, the Sharks finished playing, a week ago? And we're
talk about turnaround.
It's
pretty incredible.
And I'm glad they announced it about almost 2 weeks in advance, so people, who do want to travel a little bit can make it.
Well, and it did make it easier too for them to be able to plan a date when they knew you guys weren't making the playoffs. There's no question of you can look at the availability going, yep, we don't need the ice for playoffs. No offense to the Sharks, but it makes it easier to plan. Whereas the Blues was up in the air and of course will continue to be and hopefully be for a while.
When is the sale? Is it June or July that the sale normally happens for us, Doc?
I thought it was June last year, but I'll have to go looking because I don't know now.
I look forward to spending a warm day traveling to the building. So
you're hoping it's July.
Yeah, I hope it's
pushing it out. Yes.
Yeah.
So
the other
Paul, you got more?
Yeah, I just want to say on the Sharks sale, last year they also released a bunch of jerseys at the draft party. It's Mitch and I, we're actually in Vegas, so we missed that, but a lot of stuff, came up that day. And what they didn't sell, they kept selling during the summer. I don't know if they're doing a draft party this year. I mean, they're going to end up with one of the top 3 picks. I mean,
yeah.
So I would, even if they drop from first, I would expect they'll try to do some sort of party, and that should be because I mean they've done it for 2 years, but 2 years ago they did not. It wasn't as big of a deal that when they drafted Smith as it was the Celebrini draft, and they did not have jerseys and stuff like that out 2 years ago. Last year they brought a lot of stuff out to sell during it. So that's it from Sharks Land.
So Wade.
Yes.
Speaking of stinky stuff, you got handed one of those last week.
I did.
We talked just a bit ago about the Sharks jersey off their backs and others. You got into the Blues one, so kind of tell us the process and tell us what happened.
It was pretty neat, and I think most people who follow me on social media saw how excited I was. I had done one. I'd never done the Blues jersey off their back, and the last year, and I think this year they've done it where they had some auctions where you bid and buy a spot into the jersey off their back, and then the majority of the tickets for that or the spots for that go to I think through season ticket holders and kind of I think bigwigs who support the club get offered those, whatever. So I ended up getting one, and I kind of decided to do it this year because my thought process was, hey, there's not really anybody I don't want, right? And I wanted the experience. And then in my brain, I said, Dvorsky's could possibly be playing. Snuggerud, of course, at that point had, was on his way. So I thought, hey, I'm going to buy one of these and, take a stab at it. And pretty neat process that I guess I'll just cut to it. So how they do it is in the third period of the last game, you go to a certain section and, draw out of a hat, a name, and that's the player that you're getting. So Snuggerud played that night and got his first NHL goal. And it was a good game. It was, we beat Utah to make the playoffs, and fun night. I joked with my niece who I took with me. I said, well, if they lose this game, this is probably really going to suck because we're out of the playoffs. The guy, the players probably wouldn't have been too terribly excited to be involved or take the time. So long story short, got up there. There was already a pretty good crowd of people, 10 or 12 people had already drawn out of the hat. And I kind of looked around and I saw some of the names, and I kind of told everybody there was like a couple tiers. There was like the top tier guys I got that I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe I got this one. There was a tier that I would have been happy with. And there was only one or two guys who I would have been like, oh no, for what the spot cost and all that. So I pulled the Snuggerud first goal jersey, really neat experience. I probably said the F word in front of people more than I normally do, even, which is rare. I say a lot. And I'm keeping it pretty PJ for the show, but I was like, couldn't effing believe that I had actually pulled it, which was actually the sentiment from the guys that work for the Blues who we work with. And, the nicest thing about it was, and this is kind of the thing that really was warming about our hobby, where there was quite a few people up there who I knew who were hobbyists as well. And their genuine excitement for me was really, really cool. Like, we talk about all that kind of stuff, and like, you're looking to see who everybody else got. And when I pulled it, like, a few people who came over were warmly excited for me. Right. And like, that was awesome. Cause like, on the other end of it, somebody could have been like, oh, well, screw him, I wanted that one. And there was none of that. And I got it. I'm not going to name names, but just to those people, thank you for being genuinely good people and friends. And it was neat. Like, that was really cool for me.
Well, and when it's just out of a hat, it's not like people say, well, it was rigged. No, you're just drawn from a hat.
I actually joked that I was glad that I didn't draw it first. And I was glad that there were actually people around, because unfortunately in everything, and, we all deal with the fact that I think sometimes people have like a misconception that maybe you have this inside track, or I never wanted there to be some speculation that somehow it was like given to me or that I didn't like legitimately pull it out. So the fact that there were a lot of people around, I thought was kind of great. It kind of saved the headache of somebody later going, oh, well, but yeah, the genuine excitement of it was pretty cool. So long story short, they take you down and you wait in the waiting area, and they had a big TV set up. So we were allowed to watch the end of the game there, which was actually kind of a haze for me. I mean, I knew we looked like we were going to win. Everything was good. Like, and then you go out on the ice. And one of the neat things about it for me was I was, they line you up or they take you out by number. So I was number 21 from, starting from the lowest number up. So I was pretty far down past the goal mouth. And so when Snuggerud came out, he came out with Kyrou. And I was kind of just you're watching the players come out and they're trying to figure out what to do. And I saw Snuggerud skate out with Kyrou, and I actually saw him word like, "What do I do?" Right? Like,
well, he'd only been there a handful of days.
He's like, "What do I do?" And Kyrou's like, "Go find your number," and then give like you can kind of see there a little bit of a conversation. So then Snuggerud, he like looked around, and I saw him, and I waved at him, and he came over, and here I'm 45 years old. That's a 20-year-old kid, but he was very warm, very genuine. My niece is, in college and, around his age, and he was very engaging with her and with me. And we talked for a few minutes, and he signed a couple pucks and took the jersey off. And I explained to him how excited I was to get the jersey and, welcomed him to St. Louis. And just genuinely a really, really great experience. The Blues really didn't rush it either. That was the one thing. Like, you watch a lot of that stuff where you see these things and they rush people through things, these like meet and greets and stuff. They did not rush anybody on or off the ice. And it was really, really nice. Got to take a couple pictures with him. He did sign the jersey on the fight strap for me, which was really cool. I had him sign it with his name, and then he actually wrote game used first NHL goal, which was really cool. Just here at the end of the day, like he's probably, right now we have some of our best prospects we've had since the Thomas and Kyrou. And, realistically, like to get that jersey was really neat for me and for my collection. And, I felt really fortunate. Like I said, it was a really neat experience. Definitely a piece that I'm going to keep pretty close to my, top favorite, stuff that I have list, because the experience was neat. And, the one thing I can tell people is when the Blues do put those in the auctions and, the casino night auction, and I think they put them at one or two other spots and a couple other ones. Regardless, like here, they're not cheap, but at the end of the day, the money is going to a good cause. And in the same sense, the experience is really neat. So definitely worth doing. I don't know if it's something I'm going to do every year because I don't know if I'll be able to top this experience, but it was neat and I had a blast and, felt very fortunate.
And that was set stamped with the
jersey off the back night. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's how we've seen the Blues in I can't speak to every year, but I know I have seen jerseys from past years that have that set stamp in them. So they do a one game, but
so
yours has a hole in it and other stuff for one game.
Yeah. I was able to match it to, I don't have it up. right now, I'm not going to go grab it or whatever, but I was able to match it to, there's a mistake, like a sewing error where it like kind of V's in. So I was able to match it to that on the bench. And I mean, like the photo match thing, people are going to get, it's not, one thing or whatever, but I was able to match it to that where you can kind of see the same like mistake in the stitching when he's on the bench right after he scores on the video. And then the photo they took with him after the game holding the first goal puck, you can match it to that. And then actually when he's leaving the ice, there's a hole in the elbow. I was able to match it to. So that was pretty cool. And I was actually funny because I actually asked him, I just being the collector and the hobbyist, I said, hey Jimmy, is this the jersey you wore the whole game? Because in my brain, I was like, hey, I wonder if maybe they swapped him out after the first period when he scored. And he it was kind of funny because you could tell that he's definitely young and probably not terribly hobby experienced. Because he's like, looked at me and he goes, yeah, why wouldn't it be the one I wore all game kind of thing, right? So to him, like, it was like, my niece actually laughed because she's like, he had no idea why you asked, like what you were asking him. And I was like, yeah. But it was cool. He's a really nice kid. I really wish him the best. And man, he's really kind of already started to take off for us. So, as if I wasn't already a fan going into it, I'm definitely a fan after meeting him and that experience. So
that's an awesome story. And I definitely want you to share it because we don't get to talk to many people that get to go down the ice and do that. And especially again, for a Blues fan, it's more exciting because of who it is too.
Sure.
But just how the process works and the fact that it's a one game wonder. It's got a matchable hole in it. Because half the time, especially on a dark jersey, it's hard to find anything.
Nothing. Yeah.
And it shows that the Fanatics jerseys are taking good wear. Now, the one final question though, did you have to drive with it out the window going home?
No, it wasn't that bad. Believe me. It wasn't stinky. I did get it home. I mean, it was obviously a little wet. But I did get it home and, did the typical hang it in the bathroom. But Jimmy's not stinky. I've gotten other ones that were pretty bad. I don't know if maybe I don't know what pads he brought over from college or what he swapped into or if he went into new stuff, but it wasn't stinky. So that's a plus, right? Cause like I said, we've all gotten ones. I've had a couple sent to me from other jersey off the backs or specialty night jerseys, AHL stuff. And there's been a couple of them that before you even get the box open, you're like, holy cow, like this is rough. But no, it was neat. Thanks for asking. And like I said, if you get a chance to do that, or if they have one of those, consider it because it's a neat experience. Like I said, I had tiered it. So I had Dvorsky didn't play. And then there was the guys that I really like. You know, I collect Robert Thomas. I love Braden Chen. I'm a huge Bennington, fan, and I collect him. And then there's, Kyrou, and there was Holloway, who didn't play either, but like Broberg. There was like a tier of guys that I was like, man, if I get any of these guys, I'm going to be ecstatic, right? And then there was another tier of guys that I was like, okay, any of these would be great. The Fowler, or like Sutter, or like Suter, or like there were so many like different tiers to it that I was like, none of these would be bad. And that was the one thing that in my brain I said when I stuck my hand in the bowl, I was like, no matter who you get, this is still awesome, right?
For sure.
So that was neat. So thanks for asking. And I kind of like, I didn't want to like stick it in everybody's face, so I really haven't made like a big post about it. I did make my Facebook picture, the picture with me and Jimmy on the ice, but like I didn't really like share it in the groups because I didn't want to like over inundate it, if that makes any sense.
No, completely. But I mean, just regardless of what he could have done in the game, I mean, you'd be excited to get it. But the fact that it's his first NHL goal in that jersey it makes it even cooler. And
it's neat. It's a neat thing, and it was fun. So, like I said, if you get a chance to do that, or when you see one of those, like definitely get that experience. I did it with the Cardinals years and years ago. I had I did one with the St. Louis Cardinals baseball, and it was also a really, they actually put on a really good experience. And with the Blues, like they gave me fantastic seats for the game. And hats off to them for really making it pretty first class. There was one part that I thought was funny. It was one of the guys that was in the thing had no idea what he was doing. He didn't collect jerseys. He wasn't really even like a big fan. And he was probably like one of the corporate guys that got, his company got it, or he got it. And that was pretty interesting. So a bunch of people have joked with me if I tried to buy the jersey from him, and the answer
I was just about to ask that exact question.
No, like I will be honest. I had brought some cash with me in case like I found myself in a situation to do that. But in the same extent, like you could tell he was excited once he kind of like got down there, and like he asked me some questions about like, hey, should I have him sign it, or what should I do? And I did give him the ultimate bad advice, and I told him, just have him sign it, like whatever.
But it's gonna hang on his wall, or in his office.
The thing. Like I didn't know, like there was a lot of other collector people that we know that were terribly excited and are great friends, and it was neat to see them down there. And last year there was a few people I know that got to do it, so pretty neat.
Definitely. So congratulations to you again in an awesome jersey.
Thanks.
I can't wait to see it in person. And if other people out there have done that this year, let us know, because I'd love to see what jersey they got. If it was like Wade with getting a one gamer, or with Paul finding out at least one confirmed and probably the whole set, or the whole team is set 3. Just kind of curious what other teams do. I definitely know it's a mix.
Yeah, for Paul, wondering, like I wonder when they went into set 3. So like how many games those set 3s had on them. Because, with the Sharks not going into the playoffs, maybe it was just the set 3s and they only wore them for a game or two. Because a lot of teams don't go into the set 3 till like the last, 2 weeks or week of the season. So kind of interesting to see if they did date it or whatever.
Yeah, in all fairness, I've not been following closely when the jerseys have been worn. I mean, it's not something I'm going to collect. So it's staying away from Fanatics. I think I mentioned that.
You say that now. Someday you'll change
one of these days.
mind.
I'm making it through a whole season.
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I got to say this now that we are into the playoffs. Your steadfast dedication to your hatred of Fanatics is actually rather impressive. Like I actually didn't think you would break down, but I thought that maybe somehow there would one that would end up there. But your dedication to your disdain is impressive, Paul.
And somehow a Celebrini lands in his lap.
I figured that. Yeah. What if it's what if a Celebrini pops up to you, Paul? Like that's a great question, Doc.
I'd be more interested if like a Matty Bernays ended up at a cheap price.
Okay.
So let's say you go to the sale, and they have some Fanatics, and there is one of those, and you have access to get it for what you call a cheap price. Does that change does that?
No.
So
Part of it, no, I'm a little, I mean, I collect Michigan kids, and the Sharks have one right now, Bordelot,
Yeah.
and he's played a grand total of one game for the Sharks this year.
Yeah.
That was an away game, and he got injured. And so it's, I passed on his jerseys last year when they were Adidas. I'm going to pass on, if his one jersey for one game is there, I'm passing on it. And, and if a Celebrini's dirt cheap, Mitch and Logan are going to run over me first. So.
Good call. Good call. Maybe you'll get jersey off the back next year from them, and it'll be Celebrini, and then you'll have to keep it.
Oh, I guess that would be a different story. So maybe you can collude with the Sharks front office and make that happen. And
go.
I don't know how much pull I have there, but I'll sure try.
Appreciate it.
So Paul, you noticed some things internet-wise that you wanted to touch on this evening.
Yeah, couple strange things have been happening the past month or two. We've talked about how GameWarn.net went dead.
Yeah.
The old forum site, and they actually, years ago, they did the transition. They redid the site. They shut down the forum for a while, came back and wanted ridiculous amount of money from every collector. Like if you want to be able to trade on it, because they considered you dealers then. That did not go over well, and that started to be that's really when the Facebook groups took off. They were there already, but most of the discussion prior to that was on GameWarn.net. So GameWarn.net went through that change, but they got the forums back up and running, and they seem to have a little bit of traction. They were supposed to be publishing articles and other stuff. I think it was like one NBA article they did, or a basketball article, and nothing else. So it was basically just the forums. And then 2 months or so ago, the site went dead. I have not reached out to them to find out what happened, but they clearly did not renew the domain name. That ended up, Dropcatch, I think it was, ended up having it, which is one of those places that grabs all the expired domain names. If you put in an offer before it's officially picked up by them, you get it at like $50 or $60. If multiple people do it, it goes to auction. I never saw GameWarn.net go to auction. And turns out last week it is now owned by a company in Indonesia. They have a new site on it which has I can't read it, but it has nothing to do with hockey, nothing to do with GameWarn hockey jerseys. I don't know what the site is selling, but it is officially dead. And it's such a shame because there was a lot of good information in the old forums and the new forums. I don't think too much of that is on the Wayback Machine.
Yeah.
You could, if I remember right, you could browse some of the forum stuff, but not too much on there. And it's sad that all that information that people did on there. Oh, one of the changes they did when they had that big problem, they started doing collector pages too. So you could upload your collection, photos and stuff, and have a way to display it and share it with other people. And we'll get to another case of that too. That's all gone also. That's probably backed up better on the Wayback Machine because that's a little bit more static, I would say. But it's, to me, it's such a shame. People invested so much time in the forums, so much time putting their collections up there. And then for whatever reason, a company that really, all they run an auction. We own that, GameWarnAuctions.net. And they had this, which we thought was to drive business to their auctions, is now gone. And it leaves a hole in the community. It's, we can talk about the censorship and stuff on GameWarn.net, but we don't need to get into that tonight. It's just, I'm sad that it's gone. I'm disappointed I didn't jump on it in time to get the domain name. And we actually had some plans for it if it happened, but disappointed. And there's another case we'll talk about, but I thought, Wade, did you have something on this?
No, I was just going to say it's a shame that is gone because at the end of the day, that is kind of a chunk of the history of our hobby. And, it's disappointing that it wasn't saved. And it's sad that, that a lot of people will lose out on a lot of extended knowledge. And that's never a good thing for hobbyists. So that was really all I wanted to add.
No, agree 100%. And I find it strange that they never made an earlier announcement. I mean, if I'm wrong, someone please correct me. But it just one day someone posted in one of the Facebook groups, what's going on? It's not working, and did some digging on it. It's like, yeah, there's issues with the domain and stuff, and now it's clear that it's never coming back on that. Now I don't know if we can, what is it, David and Alan, if we can reach out to them and try to get the source code. Because it's the database is all. I'm sorry, the forum is nothing but a database of each discussion there, and I'm assuming that the collector pages were all just simple, database stuff. I mean, it might be worthwhile reaching out and seeing if we can get our hands on that.
Yeah, and if that was hosted locally, or if that was hosted, if they were paying somebody, and if they quit paying somebody to keep all of that, then it's unfortunately probably long gone.
That's a shame.
Yeah, I'll probably send them an email, and you're probably right, because it looked like the hosting had stopped, but they still have the GameWarnAuctions.net domain and running that, and I'm assuming that would have been on the same hosting. I mean, it might be a poor assumption, but it's worthwhile looking into. The other one, I never know how to pronounce this, Colexor or whatever. It was a site started a couple of years ago called something else, which I can't remember, which was another site to upload your collection to. And it acted as a marketplace too, where you can put stuff up for sale. It seemed like a decent way to display your collection. And a lot of people did this. A lot of people uploaded a lot of jerseys. Though it was being pushed in all the Facebook groups. And then, when they first came out, it was just like, oh, we're doing this for the good of the hobby. We're providing a tool. We're collectors, and I don't know. I never bothered to put any of my stuff on it. I'm always skeptical when someone else is running something, especially when I don't know them and I don't know what their intentions are. So recently they've been trying to raise money, and I think their goal was only 300K, which, for running a hobby is a lot of money. For running a software business is next to nothing. I mean, that's, you can barely pay anyone for that. And they raised private on one of these, not like GoFundMe, but there's some sort of fundraising site for this sort of software. They raised 60K of the 300K they were looking for. And then a week ago, they came out with a statement saying that the financials, they can't get the money they need, and they're going to quit running the site. I don't know what the plans are for shutting it down, if there's the possibility of people to get their data off of it or someone else to pick it up. But, once again, we have a privately run site, which people contributed a lot of time and energy, photos, data, and stuff to, which is now just going away.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good ways to display your collection online, whether you want to do it simple like Flickr. If you want to use one of the simple web building apps, there's a lot out there. There's limitations, but they still put out damn nice pages.
Yeah.
If you know a little bit more, you can do WordPress. If you know a bit more, you can do straight HTML, PHP, JavaScript, and all, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
It's, not hosting's cheap. A lot of people are willing to help on it, but I find these two dying very, very frustrating. And just, when someone else comes up with the next idea of trying to do this, how many people are really going to bite and say, yeah, I'm going to put my stuff up there and spend the time doing it? I've been skeptical for years when I see these efforts come up, and I think a lot of people are probably going to feel the same way moving forward.
Well, and you've got to either have a financial backing or a group of individuals that say, yes, we'll all commit time to help manage this. And if people leave, we can bring in others and just always keep this thing running. But Paul, we talked off the air before Wade joined us too on this. Is you look at other things in the same area that have also gone. Sports Registry, the Detroit Red Wings database. Who used to run the Rangers?
Mike Steiner.
Steiner's number. All of those different databases are gone, and you'd always hoped because of the documentation behind it, they'd always be there. And
I mean, here, think about
it's
this.
just another one on the pile.
I mean, if MyGray ever closed, that would throw the entire hobby into like absolute shambles, right? If for some reason their data collapsed or whatever, you know.
I will actually slightly disagree with that because they've made all their data public. They've
Sure.
made all those population ports available. You know, it's
hopefully people have saved them and copied them. That would be the grace of it.
A lot of us keep downloading them.
So. Yeah, for sure. But I'm saying though, in general, if it for the regular hobbyist, for the person that hasn't done that, if you know all of a sudden you're trying to look up a MyGray sticker and that thing wasn't, you know, the population thing isn't there, that could be devastating in some regards, you know.
Yeah, and matter of fact, I thought they put that somewhere more in the public domain than their website when they were having website issues years ago, which was great. So I mean, everyone can download it. It's good. I think really what you're touching on there is a lot of companies and teams now have a database where you have to enter your code to find the jersey and all that. And I don't trust those databases are going to be there in 5-10 years.
No, I mean, that's what we've seen. We've seen teams that have changed things, or, you know, databases have gone down, or, you know, whatever. I mean, here, like, you know, we brought up the Steiner one. Well, hell, half those Steiner ones never worked, right? Same thing with Fanatics ones. I mean, half that stuff doesn't even work, you know. When they change what they did previously, keeping good, you know, running information is difficult. You guys are the computer guys. I'm just an idiot who likes to collect jerseys. But, you know, I mean, it's that kind of stuff can be disheartening.
You know how to use a spreadsheet, you know, and that's all you really need, you know, or, you know, it's nicer if it's...
Doc does the spreadsheets. I just tell the jokes.
But even still, I mean, yeah, I throw them into Google Drive and share it. So anybody that can see it and can see the link and Facebook can at least view it and download it. So it is at least, as long as Google exists, even if something happens to me, whenever that stops getting updated, you have it to that point, and then somebody else can pick up the mantle and go on.
Yeah.
But even, I mean, it's something simple as stuff sitting on Google Drive or Facebook, things like that it seems like at least they're not going away anytime soon. You're not going to open the paper, shows how old I am. You're not going to open the internet, read the news, and see that Facebook collapsed and their entire system is down tomorrow and everything's gone. But
is that a challenge? Is that a challenge? Just kidding.
No,
but it's a crowdsourced option would be the best. Is you get a group of people that have understanding of kind of how this can be built well to make it visually good, easy to upload, easy to do, easy to modify. So if call it the old timers who get it started can just continue to pass it down to up and comers with the hope, because again, nothing's guaranteed that gets continued to be done. So then it's always growing and being updated and changed. But that, honestly, I think is the only way you really keep this information flowing.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. And I think it would be really nice to see an open source effort moving forward on developing something for tracking a lot of this data. there's software needed for it. Definitely what Colexor, or however you pronounce it, was doing was nice. There was some really good stuff. I think they made a mistake on trying to get too big and putting in cards and other collectibles. But, if you design a good system, it can handle that. You can extend it to any sort of collectible. It's not hard to do. And there are some programs out there for it, but they're all that's the software infrastructure, and that's all for making money on that part.
Sure.
What we're looking at here is a way to share the hobby aspect of it, which does need some back end work. And that's the part which really should be open sourced, community driven, community run, not owned by anyone, really. It should be a group, an organization, not a profit motivated one. And
enough money's put in to maintain the website and wherever it's hosted, and that's really all that's needed. And everybody else can put in a little bit of time. And I know we have enough IT geared collectors out there that could either write something from scratch or find an off the shelf thing that can't be terribly expensive for what we would need.
And there's a lot of other hobbies do it. I mentioned this before the show. LibraryThink is a great piece of software, free, and I believe it's open source. I have to double check on that, for cataloging books and stuff. And there's so many data sources for books just based on the ISBN. We're talking a different issue for game-worn jerseys, but we do have the gold standard for at least the migrate jerseys. Their population reports are damn good, complete, and mostly correct. There's a few errors in there, them here and there.
Migrate does a fantastic job on that.
Yeah, but it's a gold standard. And
yeah. And they correct if something's brought their attention, they correct it and going forward. So it's almost like in the case of that one for books, is if you could write the jersey version, could you, and again, may have to be a discussion with Migrate too, could, as part of those data sets, is all those population reports, is if you, and again, all this stuff would have to be made or programmed, but if I get a jersey that has a Migrate tag and I'm uploading it into the database and I put the tag in, it can search those population reports and populate the details from that.
Yeah.
That would not be hard to write at all, that part. And, I don't think Migrate would have an objection to their population reports being used as a data source for it. Who knows? I might get a call from Barry tomorrow, but disagreeing with me. But it's
things like that, because I mean, and I don't want to use the word experts, because even though we have deep knowledge, I hate that word. We are knowledgeable on our teams, the Blues, the Sharks, the Wings, people all over the hobbies. We can send a message to whoever. I'll use Sean in Chicago as an example, is with his website, this kind of documentation and stuff he has done on jerseys, from the patches to the repairs to other things. All of that stuff could be put in there. So it even helps for collectors to find what to look out for in jerseys from a particular year.
Yeah.
I mean, like for Wade, going for our example, is you put the Blues in there. If somebody puts I think 21, 22 at the beginning of the year, those preseason ones and stuff, there was nothing in them. And actually the set ones for multiple years had no set stamps other than the barcode. So you had to,
no problem. Yeah.
Those are the kind of things that need to be documented in there too, because if people go trying to figure out what the hell their jersey is, and that barcode is not, other than it does tell in the numbering tells you the year. Other than that, we don't know really what those codes mean.
Yeah, the further you get away from it being fresh, the harder it is for people to remember.
Yep.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. And I need to maybe go back in the spreadsheets that I've done and work with you, is say, okay, was it just set ones that didn't have set stamps, and make those notes in there that says FYI, these sets only had scannable barcodes, no set stamps.
Yeah, I just continue to hope that the teams all the teams listen and learn and grow, and find ways to make sure stuff's marked and easily attainable knowledge of what it is and how it was used and all that stuff. So, that's always the hope, I think, all of collectors.
Yeah, and I would love to see population reports from every team because
Yeah.
It does affect value. If a player wears 2 jerseys a year versus if he wears 25, because I'll do the Sharks thing situation. We don't know how many jerseys Celebrini wearing.
Right. And we know multiple teams are using that, whatever that barcode software is, because we've seen those jerseys show up with the exact same type of tag in the neck, and the numbering and everything is set up the same way. So what company's made that. So that should
Somebody's
be
tracking it.
Yeah.
Whether or not they're making it public or not, the information is there if they're getting scanned.
Right.
Big if.
Yeah, big if. I agree with that. So, well, I mean keep moving forward.
We got to adapt to the technology and keep the knowledge out there, because as we all get older, if this isn't shared or documented, it's gone.
No, for sure.
And I mean, it's every time we lose a collector, that's a piece of knowledge that is we just don't have.
I mean, people need to be willing and open to passing on knowledge and having discussions. We just had our St. Louis Expo, and if you're going to pull stuff out of a bag, be willing to talk about it, right? And if you know stuff about stuff, pass it on so that you're helping other collectors. Otherwise, you're an asshole. And I hate to throw it out there like that, but I'm a firm believer in that. If you're not part of this is that sharing of knowledge and making sure that you're protecting other collectors, and also passing on what because it's really easy to not do it, and it's just not the right way to do it. It just, in the long run, it's not fair.
Well, and you remember too, and I mentioned it when I did the closing thing for the Expo podcast. The one gentleman, and I apologize, I can't pull his name out of my head at the moment, who brought in just the St. Louis Made in Canada jersey he bought off eBay. Wanted to make sure it was what he got and what he spent was for a real Made in Canada jersey. And we pulled it out, looked at all the tagging, explained what we were looking at, not just said, "Oh, yep, you're fine," and handed it back. Explained, here's this tag on here means this, here's the born on date. These are all the things you look for. And it was a team stock jersey, but he was nervous that when he bought it, was it because he didn't get it through St. Louis, through the team, was it a real, and he was ecstatic about it.
But and that's one of those situations where, you don't want to make somebody feel stupid for asking. You want to give them the right information. To us, that's simple. To him, that was something that he didn't know. So that's how you grow the hobby.
Yeah,
right?
and we made. I talked to him that, and then he sent me a message later through Reddit. Hey, nice to meet, and all that. And I'm like, FYI, if you want to get that lettered, Levy's who you want to go to, because they did all the Adidas stuff, and just making sure that he. Again, if he's buying more of that or whatever, he knows and he's comfortable to come back to me or anybody else and ask those questions.
I still kid around with my non-collector friends. I mean, one of their favorite things is, and I'm sure everybody else does it too, when you go to a game, is sitting and squeaking out all the China jerseys and the really made knockoffs. And my friends are all the time, non-hobby friends are always, watching me and like, "Oh, what about that one?" And to me, it's like, it's a fun, terrible game, but it's like, oh my God, there's so many bad ones. There's so many that, I don't know. I can't imagine when somebody got it, but in the same sense, I guess they don't know or whatever, but man, there's so many times somebody will walk by and be like, how could you have pulled that out of the bag and been like, hell yeah, this is awesome? You know?
Everything is, you can see the string going to the next thing that was
Yeah,
sewn. It's like, please
oh,
just stop.
the color is like, oh, the colors. I mean, like,
Right.
I think that was, I think I've been to a couple games at the end of the season. And there's been a couple people that like some of the colors on some of those are just like, oh my God. Like, or when you see in like just regular like fangirls where people are like, oh man, I got these great jerseys, and they put pictures and you're like, oh my God, dude, those aren't great at all.
What's even worse is scrolling through Facebook and that and seeing ads for sports companies selling autographed jerseys.
Yeah.
And it's those, and it's like, oh God, please stop. Because I don't care.
People.
I don't care if Jesus Christ himself signed the jersey. Yeah. It's worth about $10 with the quality of that material.
And you never want to like shame anybody on it, but man, there's times like.
But companies, come on! If you're charging $300 for an autographed hockey jersey from somebody, for crap's sake, at least get a replica, a legit replica, not a terrible knockoff that I can. I mean. And I'm scrolling through Facebook fast, and it catches my eye because I can see how bad it is just swiping quickly.
I had to kind of jump into that. I was actually at a sports card and like autograph show a couple weeks ago, and a dealer friend of mine had some jerseys that they had done and did through a signings with a couple of Blackhawks and Blues players. And they were like, made in Philippines jerseys, and they were actually really, really nice compared to some of the other ones I've seen over the years, and so I saw the one and I was like, oh, and we pulled it out of the bag and I looked at it. And I mean, it's clearly a knockoff jersey, but in the same sense, the quality of it was actually pretty good for what it is compared to some of the other stuff that people get signed and then, sell. So like hats off to him for finding a really good vendor and, making sure the stuff was quality stuff. Because not everybody can afford, here. You can't afford a $400 jersey for a $30 autograph either, right?
Right.
So there is a give and take there, and there's a volume thing when they do signings with players. And for years, there's been good knockoffs and bad knockoffs, but some of them are really, really bad.
Yeah, for sure. We've covered a lot of ground on a lot of different things. Let's do final thoughts with you, Wade.
For one, sorry, I came home late tonight, and I know Paul was laughing. I had a puppy. I had to jump off a couple times. The puppy was very excited I was home. He's now sleeping, but at one point he was climbing over my back earlier, so I had to jump off a couple times. So I always apologize for that. I'm sorry.
Don't ever. That's life, and your puppies are awesome.
Yeah, life happens when we're taping sometimes. But great show. Tons of really good information, like you said. I think the cool thing that's going on is I'm shocked at how many episodes we've done now. It was this 89, was it today?
Yeah, 89.
89 episodes, which is incredible. I actually when I was coming home tonight, I had some friends and we were talking about it. And I know we said somewhere around 25,000 listens. I mean, that's like incredible. So like hats off to you, Doc, for putting this together and being the glue and having the equipment and making it happen, because it is a good thing for our hobby. And I hope people enjoy the shows as much as I feel fortunate to be involved in doing them.
And I thank you for that. And it makes it's always a ton of fun, no matter what day or time we do it. And going back to the expo, it was so fun. And again, we miss Justin there and wish he was there, but it was so fun for us to sit down on the couch and the nice chairs that we had with that setup. Yeah. If you didn't see the picture of that, please go check them out. But it was so neat to just sit together, look at each other, not through a screen, and just rattle stuff off. And as we brought in different guests, John, I think, was the one that was the first time at an expo, him and his girlfriend, wife. I apologize again. I don't remember exactly, but I'm interviewing him and she's peeking around the post. She's sitting by just watching things. And as we're doing other interviews before him, is they're kind of like, trying to even understand kind of what we're doing and seeing the setup in the room. It made it so fun.
Having Paul and Monica there, and then just everybody else that came in from different places. It's just always such a testament to the hobby, and like you said, having all of us get together and have meals and do things and whatever, like just awesome. We say it so many times. I think we probably beat a dead horse with it, but like get out to these things and have fun. I'm rejuvenated every time we have one. I get like more rejuvenated for the next one, right? Or the next one that I'm going to attend. As of right now, my plan is to go to Migrate this summer. And then we start talking about wanting to get out to California and, doing just the camaraderie and the friendships are really fantastic. So,
yeah, Migrate's coming up Saturday, July the 12th.
Yeah.
Yours is in mid-October.
Yeah.
So July, once the NHL schedule drops, that'll be really telling to see what if the Blues are home or away that weekend. But got some time planning for that and others.
Yeah, it'd be neat. And just keep moving forward with hopefully the summer is going to be a fun summer of hockey.
And stories from equipment sales, and I know we'll reach out to people that attend them. I want to try and get a lot more contacts with people at different equipment sales to kind of tell their stories if they're staying overnight or however they do it, because those are always fun to cover. Final thoughts with you, Paul?
That was a great show. Thank you guys again. Huge thank you to Wade for the expo. That back in St. It was so much fun. Monica and I just had a great time. The combination of just the expo, everyone there, saw a lot of great jerseys. More importantly, got to catch up with a lot of friends, meet some new people. It was just so much fun. Keep saying, we keep harping on it. You get a chance to get to one of these shows, do it. Yeah. I was going to mention the Migrate show. Thank you for covering that. The other big one we're looking at is August 29th and 30th in Dusseldorf, Germany, the one that Stefan's running. So Monica and I are making the trip back for that. I think it will be our 4th expo in Germany. And it's such a great, it's a different set of collectors, of course, because not too many of the Europeans can make it over for that many expos here. Yeah. So, occasionally they do, but it's great seeing everyone over there. We're so excited about the trip. Stefan puts on a first-class expo. It's just a great, great time. So we're definitely looking forward to that. Other thing I should add on a personal note, I know Wade had the puppy climbing all over him as usual. Maze just got an older sister yesterday. That's one of the reasons.
You guys did it.
Yeah, that was the reason why I couldn't do the show on a Thursday. So we now have 2 puppies. The new one, you can guess the name, is acclimating herself. She's about a 2.5-year-old mom. We support a rescue up in Pacifica called Halia or something like that at the beginning, Bitches and Queens. And
I love it.
They rescue pregnant moms and then foster out or rescue out the puppies, fix the mom. Maze was one of the puppies we got. She's a little bit over a year now. And then we got a 2-year-old mom, named Blue, as you would guess, in the situation. And she's really skittish, really scared right now because she was, in a bad situation in her home. She was rescued from there, had the puppies, was in another foster for a couple months. And now we picked her up yesterday in Pacifica, and she's adapting to life in San Jose. And Maze and Blue are getting along great. Maze is really, really good on picking up the clues on how to play with her, but now we got to get her used to all the humans in her life. Making sure she realizes she's not leaving here. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Good. Yes. So we're very, very excited.
Families growing all over the place.
Yeah, eventually I'll have the door open for the podcast again. I'm sure both will come in here and join the show, and hopefully sometime this summer. So
now, if he just climbs up in your chair and eats French fries like Wade's, then you'll be okay. But
that could happen. We shall see.
But no, another fantastic show in the books. Please continue to like, subscribe, support us anyway. Leave comments. I do again. With work and everything else, sometimes I forget to go check those. I actually going back earlier in the show, and I was mentioning being on with Devin and Megan, I found out from Devin somebody had watched the episode we did with them and reached out via comments, and Devin somehow happened to check it or whatever on our YouTube show version about an Alex Lyon jersey, and got her set up with another Alex Lyon jersey because of the comment in there. They didn't know how else to get a hold of her, and she found it and was able to pick up a jersey and was so excited. So we appreciate those kind of things. And if you see somebody looking for a jersey in that, and they've been on our show, feel free to reach out to one of us. We can make sure that stuff doesn't get missed. But again, like, subscribe, comment, all of those things. We're right at 25,000 listens, and it is always so much fun to do these. And I hope people continue to enjoy them. If you have suggestions, things we should change, things you'd like to see, please reach out. We love critiques and all that stuff because it only makes this show better. So I've done radio a long time and done a number of podcasts over the time, but everyone's different and I can't think of everything. Wade and Paul or Justin can't think of everything either. So if you have ideas, send it to us. But until next week, hope you guys reach out and enjoy the hobby, enjoy the playoffs. Holy cow, they're getting hot. It's some of the best time to watch hockey. We'll see you then.